Mobile gaming has really skyrocketed over the years, and today what we have here is something that can elevate your experience in terms of mobile gaming by converting your whatever smartphone to become a near perfect gaming smartphone. So this is the GameSir X2 Type-C, and it has quite a lot of features and also some quirks that you need to know, so we'll share our experience with you here today. So the GameSir X2 Type-C here is a pretty simple idea. It looks a lot like the Razer Kishi, which we'll get into later as well. So opening up, you got this kind of little welcome message and the user manual and also a GameSir sticker is inside, which I'm not going to touch. And all you get is this thing. This is the GameSir X2 Type-C, and the reason why they're calling it Type-C is because you've got a Type-C port right here to plug your phone in. And then there's also another pass-through Type-C port here for charging. Now, unfortunately, the first thing I tried was plugging it into the PC, and this port is only for charging your phone. So if you plug this into your PC won't even detect anything. And yeah, that's quite unfortunate, but yeah, it's meant for phone gaming anyway. So before we plug in the phone, let's take a look at the whole design itself, because I think this is a really sleek white design and it's also very sturdy. Yes, it's using sturdy plastic, and one thing that I find it to be real amazing is how good the joysticks are. They feel really smooth. It has an adequate amount of resistance where the initial push is very smooth, but the entire motion where you push it from the center to the end is also really smooth. I don't know how they do it, but it's the same for both joysticks. The buttons here, they got a good travel distance, good tactility, and you can absolutely feel it when the button is pressed. As for the triggers, they're all really clicky. I have no idea why they use this type of switch, but they definitely tell you when the button have been pressed. And then there's also some additional buttons here, which immediately reminds me of the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, because again, red, blue, neon colors. And then there's also a home button here, a screenshot button. Yes, this works as a screenshot button for your phone. And then as for the minus and plus buttons, you got a G and a S button, which I think stands for Game and Sir. And okay, so now let's plug in the phone and see how things go, because I've already tested this phone, the Mi 10T Pro, with the GameSir X2 Type-C on COD Mobile. So what I'm gonna do now is actually to hop into PUBG Mobile and show you how I can set this up and make it running at the same time. But before we jump into the game, I need to highlight something with you about the GameSir app itself. If you head into the Google Play Store and find the GameSir app, you will find that the reviews of that app is pretty bad. And if you read the comments on why they are saying such and so, well, you come to realization that a lot of them is just complaining that when they buy the controller, they download the app, it just doesn't work. And of course, for us, we emailed back GameSir and asked what's happening, and eventually they told us to download the app from GitHub instead. So when we downloaded the app from GitHub, even though it has the exact same version, it kind of functions differently. So we finally got the X2 Type-C here to update its firmware via the app on GitHub. And then we eventually have to uninstall the GitHub version because the Google Play Protect has been bugging us to remove that app instead. So once we remove that, we download again from the Google Play Store and then it works, which is what we have now. So jumping into the GameSir app here, it's pretty straightforward in terms of its functionality. So what we can see here, heading it into the Play Game tab, there's a gamepad test, so you can test all of the buttons before you move into the game to make sure everything works. And before we proceed further, you can see that this X2 Type-C has a blue LED here. This means that it's working in native gamepad mode. So if you're playing something like Steam Link, or maybe the games that you're playing is already natively supporting gamepads, then you will have to use this in the blue LED mode. But if you want to remap all of the buttons to function as screen touches, then you have to use it in green LED mode. And the way to change between those two modes is by pressing the home and the G button together. And then, yeah, it might not work the first time, but eventually you get this message here, press OK, and then it will change the LED to green. So let's just hop into PUBG Mobile. So if we head into PUBG Mobile and then we go into controls and then customize, and you can see this is my current control settings. What's new here when we open the game via the GameSir app is this little green icon here, and then when we press on it, this overlay comes out. And yeah, it's kind of complicated now, but I'll just head into reset, clear my config, and then I'll start from the beginning. So firstly, left joystick here is in red color. I'll put the red joystick into here because that's where my joystick is located. And okay, that's settled. And then the second one is to add button again. Right side button, I'll just leave it here because that's where your camera panning is supposed to be located at. So putting it at a blank location at the right side of your screen is recommended. Then the only one question mark button, I'll drag it here. No, this is my shoot button. I want it to be L2. Okay, then that's done. And then my reload button, I want it to be L1. Then my jump button, I want it to be A. So I'll drag it to jump, press A. You see the remapping feature here is really intuitive and it's just very straightforward. If I want my scope button to be R2, I just do that. And then let's just say I want grenade because why not? R1. And technically I'm already good to go, but I can map even more buttons for looting and also for changing weapons, changing weapon modes, for medkits, all of those stuff. You can do a lot of things, and you can also map button combinations. So for example, if I want pressing R1 and R2 together to trigger something, I can do that as well. But I'll just leave it as of now, and we'll head back into the game. And yes, that's my config. Save to accessory, just wait for a moment, and then it will be saved. So config is saved. Let's just head into training mode and test this out. So immediately in the training mode here, I can see that the right stick here is not really moving that much because it detects as a joystick. So what we can do here is by pressing into this GameSir button again, double tap on the right joystick icon and then select sliding mode instead. Then from there we can see that we can select the action range from full screen to area, or the axis direction to be reversed if you want to do that, because I know a lot of people want reverse joystick for the camera. And I'll just leave the settings as of now. Press OK, and then save to accessory again, wait for a few seconds, and then it will be saved. So now we can see that the game is working as intended. The big red circle here is actually because I already set the screen recorder to show the button movement, the button taps, and if you disable the screen recorder, then you won't be able to see those big pink things. So now let's just pick up a gun and see how things work. So just pick up the AWP. Is it called AWP in PUBG? The Magnum sniper rifle, that sniper rifle. And then we can see here, my A button is for jumping. It works perfectly fine, no problems there. And then I'll just pick up this 8x scope, press the R2 button for zooming, and then press the L2 button for shooting. And after that, L1 for reload. Everything just works. This app here, when it works, it really works perfectly fine. And I'm kind of amazed by how seamless it is once you get everything settled down. And I don't really have any complaints about this thing. Everything works really good. But the price here might be a bit steep because it's at around 288 ringgit from what I can find. And sometimes you can even get it to as low as 230 something ringgit. And the closest competitor to the GameSir X2 Type-C is the Razer Kishi. And yes, back to the Razer Kishi again. Of course, Razer is a much bigger brand. A lot of people will know about that product instead, but it kind of serves the same purpose as this thing. And the Razer Kishi is at 380 something ringgit. That thing is really expensive in comparison to this thing. But I don't have the Razer Kishi with us, so we cannot compare the quality or even the functionality of the Razer Kishi with this one. In whichever case though, if you got a powerful enough smartphone with good Wi-Fi connection. You can even play Steam Link games. And generally though, software here, powerful, just that they do have some things to iron out like translation and whatnot. And when you get it working, it's real good. And that's all we want to say about the GameSir X2 Type-C. It's a good product, and I'll see you guys in the next video.